Ranting, reflecting, reasoning, reckoning.
The Huddle. With corporate cars delivering unbeatable prices on luxury European vehicles.
Cameron Slater from Whale Oil is back with us. Hi, Cam.
Hey, Larry.
Josie Pagani is with us. Hello, Josie.
Hello.
Coming to you first on this one, Josie. The Prime Minister calling David Cunliffe an idiot. He said, what an idiot. I'm sorry, but I mean, the guy goes in there and says... this is regarding Australia, says, why don't you get better rights for New Zealanders, forgetting he was part of the government that signed New Zealand up for this in the first place? What do you see in this, Josie?
Well, I don't like the tone of politicians calling each other names. That's our job. You know, that's our part of the democratic process. So I think, you know, it's not very prime ministerial to call the leader of the opposition an idiot. I can understand why Labor pounced on this. There's a real fairness argument there that Kiwis who live in Australia for a long period of time, 10 years, 15 years, they pay taxes, but they don't get to access the things that their taxes pay for. So I get that, except that, as we all know, it's quite complex, you know, and the problem in 2001 was that there were people hopping from New Zealand to Australia. The Howard government at the time was very worried about it, and yes, you know, we got shafted, but there is a difference in the balance there, isn't there? I mean, there are more Kiwis who want to go to Australia, certainly back then, than the other way.
Well, I think Clark did the only thing she could do back there then, Cam. I mean, people were using New Zealand as a backdoor into Australia. She did the right thing.
I think she did do the right thing, and I wish she had actually gone further and implemented the similar sort of policies here in New Zealand. Then we could have stopped some of these ratbags that are coming here just to pick up citizenship so they can move on and do other things. But this issue of fairness is just specious. You go to the UK, you pay taxes over there too, and you won't get access to anything.
Yeah, but we don't have an agreement with them, Cam. We don't have a special relationship with them in the way that we do with Australia.
Whatever, things change. You know, the point is that David Cunliffe is expending political capital on deadbeat ratbag Kiwis who are bludgeoning off the Australian government. If they want to avail themselves of the facilities that are available to citizens in Australia, become Australians.
Yes,
very simple.
That's true. I'm agreeing that it's a more complex issue. I'm just saying that there is a fairness issue there. If you've paid taxes for 15 years, but you can't access the things that you...
Well, Josie, I think there's a lot of misinformation. I'll talk about Mr. Cunliffe. I want to talk about Mr. Cunliffe first off. Okay. The remark about getting Key to sort out all of the stuff while he was in Australia is stupid, and he knows it's stupid. And the point is, it wasn't off the cuff. It was planned. It was in a statement. So that is number one. Number two, Josie, these people that are whining over there, and they're not all deadbeats either, they are allowed to apply for permanent residence. They haven't. Why not? I'll tell you why they haven't. Either they're not too bothered about it, or the other reason is because they don't have the skills to actually get residency.
Yeah, and that's why I think there's a perfectly legitimate argument to say, you know, if you don't like it, come home, come back to New Zealand. And actually, we'd rather they came back anyway. I'm much more concerned about this ban from the Aussie supermarkets for New Zealand goods. Now, it's all very well running a buy Aussie, buy Australian products, but actually banning our products, that's pretty ugly.
Well, it's stupid and it shouldn't be happening, but there's not a hell of a lot we can do about that either, Cam.
Well, I don't know. I think we can.
No,
we should have
you can. I'm sorry, Josie. If a supermarket over there wants to buy a can of whatever it is, they can do it.
No, I agree with that. No, what I'm saying is we can do something. We could boycott the Australian supermarkets. I mean, if they want to start a trade war, you know, don't be so dark.
Labor and the Greens have had a policy of Buy New Zealand made the same. This is the problem with these silly policies. You know, it should be up to the consumers to choose. And if the supermarkets are deciding for themselves that they want to stock, you know, Australian asparagus rather than New Zealand asparagus, well, that's a decision for them to make. The consumers ultimately will teach them the lesson if they go and shop elsewhere. But to stand there like David Cunliffe has and say the government needs to sort it, he should well know, with, you know, if you believe his CV, that he's this wonderful trade expert all around and worked all around the world. He'll know that New Zealand has got no control over any of that. And even if he was, in the unlikely event, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, he would get short shrift from the Australians, just like John Key. He is idiotic, and John Key was right to call him that.
Back in a moment, Cameron Slater and Josie Pagani on the Huddle. It's now 14 to 6.
It's election year, and it's Larry Williams Drive with ANZ, supporters of New Zealand's Winter Olympic team on NewstalkZB.
Cameron Slater and Josie Pagani back with us. Issue number 2, Cameron, Chappelle Corby is released from jail. Utter chaos. The world's media climbing all over one another to get the first pictures. What do you see in it?
Why have we got all of this media crawling over some feral scrubber from Australia who was a drug dealer? I mean, honestly, it's ridiculous. You go to these Asian countries, they have big warnings that say, don't smuggle drugs, you end up in jail or dead. And these fools do it. And they're news all of a sudden, and we've got to celebrate their freedom.
Actually, it's interesting, Larry, that Sydney Morning Herald headline, the headlines are things like, drug smuggler hides her face. It shows you that belief in her innocence has, and I think I saw a statistic, is collapsed from about 70% to about 10%.
Right.
But there's still sympathy for her. So, and it's just she's this irresistible made-for-TV martyr, isn't she?
Until she opens her gob and then starts talking.
Well, a part-time beauty student accused of drug smuggling. She's I read a great quote in the Sydney Morning Herald. She's the face in the case that launched 1,000 tests, as we all debated her guilt, and we all did. Did the father plant the drugs in the bag? Did the Qantas baggage handlers do it? And then Kerry Packer got hold of it, Channel 9, and made her their sort of it girl. And then she had a mental breakdown.
That's the problem with the media, isn't it? That's the problem with the media when they invest themselves in a personality and a story, and then try and make the news fit the actual facts.
Well, I wonder if she realises
here in New Zealand.
I wonder if she realises she probably does now after that ridiculous media scrum, but that she's become this kind of, folk hero, really, despite the fact that most people think she's guilty.
And in 12 months' time, no one will care what she's doing.
So will she be rich? That's the thing.
The Kerry Packer thing didn't work, Cam, anyway, because I see it looks like Channel 7. Well, he's dead currently, isn't he? But, Channel 7. In fact, his son's got no interest in Channel 9 now anyway, has he? Sold it all. Anyway, but Channel 7 looks like they've got the interview, and that's going to happen very soon, and she'll get millions, and it might take the heat off her, I suppose.
Well, this is the thing that your producer, Melita, was just saying. Will she be able to profit from the proceeds of crime?
Ratbags always do some way along the way.
You're going to have to find a new word to ratbag.
Oh, come on, it's a great word.
Get a dictionary. There are some other insulting words I'm sure you can use.
All right.
Feral's good, and so's scumbag.
Feral, scumbag, ratbag, but you use those three quite a lot.
I am going to have to push on. Thanks, Cam, and thanks, Josie. Josie Pagani and Cameron Slater on the Huddle. Sport next. It's coming up 8 to 6.